Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Hope everyone had a wonderful, wonderful week. This week is Parshas Bo, and this week's Isaac Sonim is dedicated by the Pekarsky family, Heidi, Rachel, Avi, Tova, and Rav Yossi Jacobs. Lilu Nishmas, Yisrael Mendel ben Avram Yehuda Leib, the father of Avi Pekarsky. His neshama should have an aliyah. So we read Parshas Bo, and over the past couple of weeks, this week's Parsha for sure, we're told that Hashem hardens Paro's heart. And the obvious question is asked by many Mefarshim is what happened to Paro's Bechira Chavshis? Paro's entitled to Bechira Chavshis. Hashem's hardening his heart. How exactly do we reconcile that with Paro having free will? So many answers are given. I want to suggest an idea based on a thought from last week's Parsha. So last week's Parsha we had 7 Makos, and the seventh of the Makos is borrowed. And the whole way through, Moshe is saying, "Let my people go." Paro says nothing doing. And for the first time in Parshas, in Makas Barad, we find Paro softening a little bit. He says, yes, Hashem is the tzaddik, we're the Rishon, and he starts to loosen his grip. What happened? One could just argue it's the accumulation of all the Makas, but I think something is unique that happens in Makas Barad. What happens is that, again, in the pagan Egyptian world, there are forces, there are gods. There's the sun god, there's the moon god, there's the rain god, there's the tsunami god, there's the hurricane god. The gods fight it out, and the stronger god, now that makes the rain, that makes the hurricanes, that makes whichever god, whichever force is stronger, that rules the day. When it came to Makas Barad, you have something interesting. And indeed, the whole Mitzi world was into magic. They were into the powers, these magical powers that the Chartunim certainly had. But when it comes to Makas Barad, they saw something unique. And Rashi writes, this was a nes betoch nes, because it was fire mixed with hail and fire together. And these are two opposite forces. Fire melts hail. Water extinguishes fire. And all of a sudden, these two forces were coexisting. And this was fundamentally different than everything that Mitzrayim was used to. Their magic was there were different forces of nature, different gods. But here you had, from a single source, two opposites, fire and ice coexisting. That broke everything. That broke everything that represents. It's highlighted that Hashem is in charge. This is something that's well beyond our capability. Hashem is 100% in charge. He can take opposite forces, a force of fire and a force of ice. Opposite forces, they each should defeat each other, and they could enable them to coexist. Hashem can do anything he wants. And once Paro saw that, normally, yes, these forces would be fighting against each other. When they were coming together, that was something beyond anything that he'd seen. He'd started to weaken his resolve. I think that's the message here of the entire Yetzias Mitzrayim. Is the whole story is a message not for the Mitzris, it's a story for us. That ultimately Hashem is in charge. He runs the world, he rules the world, and the things that happen around us ultimately is the Yad Hashem. And perhaps, Dafka in this week's Parsha, even when it comes to Paro's free will, Hashem was even in charge of that. And fair, not fair, it's not the point. That's not the question. The point is that if Hashem chooses to exercise his full power, then yes, indeed, Paro is going to lose his free will. And that's a message that's critically important. There's so many things happening around us, hard to understand, different crazy things. Everyone has their opinions about them. But I think at the end of the day, we need to fall back and realize that and live lives with an understanding that we do everything we can, but ultimately Hashem controls the results. He's in charge. These forces that are happening all around us, ultimately Hashem Hu HaElokim, he is the Melech Malchei HaMelachim. He's the king over kings. He's in charge. And perhaps that's the message that Paro needs to learn and that we need to learn as well. Have a wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.